because I'm so delighted to be joined today by Annie McQuaid. Actually, do you use your double name? Annie McQuaid Mitchell. Okay. But no, I know no hyphen. My double name. Okay, all right. We'll talk about that later. And she's the founder and creative director of the Toronto-based office Future Studio. And I saw a project online when I was kind of researching these talks. I called it a spa, and I think you then corrected me and said, no, it's a wellness space. Semantics maybe, but... And I thought it was absolutely fascinating. The real kind of consideration that, as you can see in the images here, the real consideration in terms of materials and lighting and so on, and the fact that it's a wet space. And I thought it'd be great to have one of these talks function as just a case study to really kind of dive into it and to reveal some thinking there. So thanks very much for joining us, and especially coming all the way from Toronto as well. That's very, very, very kind of you. Maybe we start with a kind of a general question first, which is spatial design. How does spatial design inform a sense of wellness, kind of an emotional, physical wellness?
I think it's very strong how much spatial design plays into a project like this. Everything from the very first step, so planning out the space, there's a very specific flow that people need to go through within the experience. The check-in, the lockers, the changing into the bathing suits, the bathrooms, out into a communal space, into the sauna, into the ice bathroom, which is shown here, and then circling back into the sauna. So it's very prescriptive in terms of how we move people through the space. But in terms of just the overall approach to the design, it feels, to me at least, obvious that you need to make people feel very comfortable in their bathing suits. And so that really plays into what you were talking about, Simon, with the lighting, and all of the materials are really set to help get your mind in a place where we need it to be for the experience and let you really relax and unwind.
I mean, you told me just before we started this talk that there's another Othership is the name of the company, the chain, another Othership project planned for Williamsburg in Brooklyn. When you're working on this type of typology, what are the core design principles that you identify and that you adhere to, as opposed to working on a retail project or a hospitality project like a bar?
Probably the first is really, even though this looks very hospitality, the materials, it's essentially we've built a public pool. So all of the materials have to be anti-slip, they have to be antimicrobial. There's a set of requirements in terms of just the materials themselves. Maybe I'll just go through some.
Go for it.
This is the sauna, which I was told by the sauna builder was the largest in New York City, if not North America. It fits 95 people.
Wow. I think that would fit. We could all go, and then you could all bring one friend as well, and there'd still be enough room.
Maybe I should actually start by describing what Othership is. So Othership is a sauna and ice bath experience, or a wellness experience. It's similar to a spa, except you will never get shushed here. It's not a quiet space. Essentially, Othership is a 75-minute session that you sign up for, come for, and each session that you come to is themed. So you actually, the entire group of, let's say it's 60 or 70 people, follows the experience together through the space.
Is it like it's like going to the gym? Is it like a class?
Exactly, it's a class. So you sit in the sauna, and there's a sauna master who's your guide through the session that puts different essential oils on. They may guide a breathwork session. It might be like an aromatherapy. It could be a stretching theme. I think they have over 30 class types. So you all go together in the sauna, and then you all go together into the ice bath for 2 minutes, and then back in the sauna. So it's an experience that's like a closed loop experience.
And then you're friends for life with your.
And then you are friends for life.
you want to talk us through the project? Show us some
Sure.
of the stages.
So what's shown on the left here is what we call like the common space. So this is where you meet at the beginning of your session. In the center is someone doing an ice bath who's obviously very focused. It is very cold.
That would not be the look on my face if I was doing an ice bath.
Yeah, it's chilly. And then around the space, because even though the class structure is a popular way of using the space, there's also what we call a free flow. So you can just use the space like a more traditional spa where you come for a set period of time and do your own thing. So that's just a seating zone over outside of the sauna. And then on the left here, while you're in the ice bath, the guides are trying to do everything they can to keep you in it. So there's a number of instruments, sound bowls, chimes, things that help you focus while you're in the ice bath. And then this is just a group of people in the common space and then a detail of the sauna. So also while you're in the sauna, the music is really loud and is tied to the experience itself and the lighting. So all of the lighting changes different colors depending on the type of class you're in.
It's not really a meditative experience.
It is the opposite. Right. Well, meditation in a high energy space, if that makes sense. When you're in the ice bath, it's generally silent. But when you're in the sauna, it's quite lively.
Is this something? I mean, what's going on here in terms of how did the company behind this identify the need for this? Is there something specific to where we are now, post-pandemic, that there is a desire for communion, for people to come together and experience something like this, and I wonder how that affects then your thinking in design terms.
Robbie Bent, who is one of the founders of Othership, called me about 5 years ago and was describing his vision and his team's vision for this concept. He actually had a substance abuse issue, and one of the ways that he became sober was by going to spas, because it's really... If you think about nightlife, they basically wanted to create a nightlife option that's a sober option as one of the pillars of what they were describing. And to your question about the sort of post-pandemic mood, it's interesting because what Othership is creating is in some ways as old as time, because baths, common baths, Roman baths, Korean jinjabongs, Finnish saunas have been part of the cultural experience for centuries. And yet, sort of in the North American market, it feels new in a way.
Well, I guess as more homes started to feature private bathrooms, there was less of a need for public baths as we...
Right. But there is a need to... people that come to Othership generally keep coming. There's a lot of regulars, and it becomes very much like a community experience for a lot of people.
Ali, show us some more.
Okay. So this is just the inspiration. So this is Georgian Bay in Canada. This is where I come from. And this was really the seed of inspiration for us as Canadians. We spend a lot of time outdoors, and we wanted to bring that experience as much as possible into the design of the space. So I, with the clients, hosted an inspiration retreat, and we went through 1 million pinups and material selections, because as I mentioned, everything has to be extremely hard-wearing. We wanted to create the feeling that you were standing in a natural body of water, so we actually used real river stones that are sliced into tiles within the space.
And materials, is it fair to say that materials are pretty much at the start of this? Do you use that as a starting point, a point of departure?
For me, that's always the starting point. My studio has thousands and thousands of tiles, fabrics, bricks, wood, everything you could imagine. For me, that's where I always start projects, is with a material palette that I feel confident in, and then it works out from there.
Can you run us through maybe if we look at one of the images again, can you run us through what the material choices then were for this particular project and why? And also supplementary question, too many questions in one go. And a supplementary question, which is, how obviously they have to perform in a certain way as well in a space like this. So very particular. So those parameters affect your material choices, right?
Completely. The original thought that we had was that the experience of being inside of a sauna just psychologically feels so incredible. You just feel surrounded by natural wood, and it's just such a calming experience. And so our first approach on the materials was to explode the sauna. So the wood carries through. We have clear redwood cedar that goes through almost the whole space. And then we use natural bricks and then the pebble stones. And then
where are the stones from? So you said there's
we actually source them through a Toronto supplier, and we are specifically we're going into our third project with Othership, and we've gotten so specific that we now specifies the size of the stones and how close they are together, just because it feels the best on your feet.
Do they hate you now?
I think they've grown to love me, but good thing I have a good relationship with them. So this was prior to the construction build. This is 23rd West 20th in the Flatiron District.
And so it's an adapted.
Correct. This is a landmark building. This
right.
is the ground floor of
What's
a
the original purpose of the building?
It had many, many lives before this. Okay. Previous to this, it was actually a parking garage, which is wild.
Yeah.
So this is, on the left-hand side is just validating the plan. So I had the floor plans before I had actually gone into the space because we had test fit it. So we were validating the plans, and then this is meeting with the incredible construction team that put it together to help build. And then the image on the right, so we actually sunk the tubs, the cold plunges, into the floor. So took a lot of engineering to get that, structural engineering to get that right, because we had to work with a beam structure that was essentially below us and holding up the building. So we had to put the tubs in very specific locations. This is the plumbing below the tubs, which is a wild labyrinth of plumbing. After this was one of the earlier photos, but we poured a concrete. Basically, there's a concrete tub that sits under all of this now.
I mean, the plumbing must be one of the key challenges of.
It is. And we could not actually plumb into this cellar floor because the water table in New York was pretty high. So we had there's a lot of pumps involved to pump it out. This is me and my team in the completed pool tub room. So this is the mechanical for all of the tubs.
This is incredible to see behind the wall.
So it's essentially we built 8 swimming pools. So each tub has its own system.
That's insane.
It is insane once you see it all built. There's incredible engineers that worked on this project with us. And then this just shows the progression of the ice bathroom or the tub room. So these are the guys that were putting in the pool coping. And then you can see all the brick has gone up on the wall, and then the final product on that side.
Mad.
It's very cathedral-like.
There's something very sacred about it.
Yes.
What are the acoustics like in there? I'm gonna say something about which is probably heretical, but when I went to the famous thermal baths in Vals in Switzerland, the Peter Zumthor project that a lot of people know, and you go there and you've seen it. It's so familiar because you've seen it so many times. The image is kind of reproduced everywhere, and then when you get there, it's actually quite loud because the reverberation of the sound off that bare slate, and it's at odds with this sort of very quiet, meditative feeling that you think you're going to have because of the way your body feels.
That's always a challenge with this type of a project because all your materials need to be very hard materials. But what you don't really see above the ceiling lighting in the tub room is that there is a lot of sound panels that are hanging there, both to keep the sound contained and like so that the sound quality for anyone who's using this space is good, but also because above, like on the second floor of this building, was a not-for-profit, and they required like incredible sound.
Right.
They did not want to hear what was
They didn't want to hear the 95 people getting into the ice
shouting
baths.
in the sauna. No.
Do you want to show us some more, Ali?
Sure. It's just a detail of the tub. So this tub we designed for 4 people. There's also 2 people, like 2-person tubs as well. So we're playing around with different tub sizes now. And in Williamsburg, we'll just be doing an 8-person tub and a 6-person tub. This is the sauna. So they're leveling the floor. And also you can see those orange wires there. It's floor cooling.
Oh, cooling. Of course, I was about to say underfloor heating, but why would you need heating there? Yeah.
Because if you think about the guides or the sauna masters that are in the sauna, it's incredibly hot on their feet to be standing there for 20 minutes and guiding a class. And so we cool the tiles in the sauna where they're standing. And then you can see the team building and then the final result. This is just before open. And then these are some images of the final project.
Fantastic.
One interesting fact is, so between the experience you have in the sauna and the ice bath, you have a shower.
Right.
And I actually used a spec from Sloan that is typically used in like institutional settings where you just push a button and the shower's timed to 20 seconds, which we determined is what you need between sessions so that we're conserving water.
And right, okay. And so that was one of my questions, follow-up questions, which is, how sustainable can a project like this be? If you think, you showed us behind the wall and the amount of tech engineering going on there, energy usage, water usage. Defend yourself, Ali. Defend yourself.
I think we do everything we can. New York City actually has very strict, eco codes. So using low flow shower heads, using the timed showers, as much as we can, we're trying to make it as sustainable as possible.
The lighting is, obviously, is so key in a project like this.
Yes.
In terms of the affective, on an emotional and physical level, how one responds to the space. How did you research that, and how do you go about specifying products for a project like this?
Mm-hmm. So everything in this project is...
Please say you use Architonic, only Architonic.
Yes, only Architonic is how we source all of the materials and lighting. So everything in this project is 2200 Kelvin, which is candlelight, which in my opinion is the most comfortable light to be in your bathing suit. And so I actually go around and paint some of the light fixtures that do not come in that Kelvin level. So I unscrew the light and I paint a filter physically, and then we put the lampshade back on. LED strips do come in 2200K, but they're not that common, especially the waterproof ones. So they're, I think I use one of the only specs that I could find.
Right.
but it's very specific lighting.
That's incredibly specific, but I guess that, as you say, that's the...
I think it's just the most comfortable.
And then there's a sort of collective memory from candlelight. This is what we know. It's in us, in our DNA somehow.
I completely agree. I think it's just innate that the eye loves that level.
Yeah.
It just brings about good memories. Sitting at a dinner table with a romantic candle.
Right. Ali, what did you... I mean, this is such a... There's so much to consider in a project like this for you and your team. Congratulations.
Yes.
What did you learn the hard way?
I've learned so much. One of the biggest challenges is I had completely planned the space similar to how we plan it in Canada, where we don't have gendered locker rooms. So you go into like a genderless locker room, and then you have a change stall within that you change. In New York City, the health department has not caught up to that. So we actually had to replan the entire space to have male locker rooms and female locker rooms, which was interesting. Unfortunate.
I didn't know that about Canada.
So specifically, that was a challenge.
That changing facilities are obviously there's a curtain you can go behind,
exactly.
but generally genderless.
Yes. So that was a challenge, just coming from a Canadian mentality. I didn't even think about that until...
And I guess toilets as well, also gendered.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So that was a challenge. Another challenge was just structurally planning where the tubs could go, because the building below us had a certain beam structure that I mentioned that we had to abide by. I mean, there's 10 million things I've learned on this project. Floor sloping, like sauna heat, how to calculate the size of a sauna, the number of stoves required. I mean, we have an amazing sauna consultant that does help, but there's not like an inch of unused square footage in this project.
What a great job, a sauna consultant. I would love to. That man over there should do it.
There is sauna consultants.
That's fantastic. But this is all, I mean, this kind of, it's a cumulative, right? When you in a career for a longer time, I mean, what you've learned, you take to the next project in Williamsburg. This is all to the benefit of Brooklyn guests, right?
Brooklyn is going to have the best one yet, because we keep learning every time.
Maybe one last question about the future of wellness, the future of designing for wellness. Do you see particular tendencies?
I think we're really only just at the beginning. I get phone calls every week because of this project from people who have the craziest ideas. There's such a momentum happening within the wellness space, whether it's saunas, ice bath, like IV treatments, red light therapy, Pilates. Like, there's just... I think that the data does show that at least a younger generation is more interested in wellness as a going out activity versus maybe going to like a nightclub. It doesn't have necessarily the same appeal to the younger generation that it did. And also, it gives people another option in the evening. Like last night, my husband and I went out for dinner. We were a bit jet lagged, so it was early. And if something like this existed in Frankfurt, and maybe it does, I tried to research it and didn't find one, that's what we would have done, because we had already had dinner, and it was like something that we would have been interested in going and experiencing. So I think we're really honestly just at the beginning, and from a design perspective, it's such a fun category to design, and it's completely free. There's no preconceived notions of what a bathhouse should look like or a Pilates studio should look like or anything in wellness, really. It's incredibly freeing for designers.
You don't hear that very often. I think this is very exciting, as you say, to be involved in developing designing spaces for a context where the typology is changing so quickly, and particularly I think with advances in materials and tech, it's there's everything to play for.
100%.
Ali, thanks so much.
Thank you,
Give a round of
Simon.
applause to Ali from Future Studio, Toronto.
very much.
Fantastic project. Well done.
Thank you.